Hello and welcome to the Pokemon Y L-Lock, a Nuzlocke inspired by the letter L. The main Nuzlocke rules apply, however all the species of Pokemon that I am allowed to use are reduced to those who begin with a specific letter. To date, there are only 40 different species of Pokemon whose names begin with the letter L, so I think that having the specific reduced team option makes for a fun way to navigate through the Pokemon franchise. If you find a challenge like this to be interesting, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I really do appreciate all feedback and critiques. Try to make a challenge that I'd enjoy to partake in, as well as one that's enjoyable for the viewer. Without further ado, sit back, relax, and witness my run of a Pokemon Y Nuzlocke using only L species Pokemon. We have one eligible encounter that starts with the letter L before the gym, but there are some other encounters that we need to pick up along the way. In Route 1 we scoop up a Zigzagoon, and on Route 22 we have our true starter, Lorelei the Litleo. Lorelei can either have Unnerve as an ability or Rivalry, and of course we get the latter. Rivalry makes it so that the attack power of the user is increased by 25% against Pokemon of the same gender, but in turn reduces attack power of the opposite gender by the same percent. This makes female Pokemon easier to fight, but males much harder. Since we have a fire type, I'm extremely confident in our ability to beat Viola, the bug type gym leader. She starts with a Surskit, who responds to our Lion's workup with a Water Sport. Since Surskit is female, one headbutt is enough to take it out. Vivian comes in next, who sets up a Harden, but since my second headbutt was a crit, the stat increase was ignored, giving me an easy gym fight. Time from the first to second gym in this game is quite the stretch, but that just means more encounters for us. Leaving the first gym city, we were able to grab ourselves a Ladybug, one of two species that actually evolve into one other L-named Pokemon, the other being Luxio, who's unavailable until the post-game, sadly. We are tasked with beating the Professor Sycamore, and finding a dog in a maze since the owner has the Pokeflute that we need to borrow. Having a huge stall match with Snorlax, I'm very glad that Litleo is able to use Noble Roar and lower its attack stats, as well as getting a burn with Ember to make this a little less of a complete headache. After a quick double battle with our rivals, we grab ourselves a Whismur in Connecting Cave. Still at this point, we can only use 2 of the Pokemon we caught, and with the next gym being a rock type, I am glad we can also receive the TM for Rock Smash, that almost our whole team can learn. We travel by Rhydon to Glittering Cave, in which we meet Team Flare for the first time. And the orange suits are still so goofy to this day. After rescuing an oblivious scientist, we head to Silage City, get a bike as the promotional 10,001st customer, and with the old rod we fish for Love Disc. Last thing we need to do is get some evolutions, namely Zigzagoon into Linoon, Whismur into Loudred, and Ladybug into Ledian. After getting everyone to level 25, I think we're set for the gym. I lead with Loud MF the Loudred, setting up a Howl after being paralyzed by Grant's Amora. After taking a mean Refrigerate takedown, Loudred takes the Amora out in one shot of Rock Smash. Tyrant follows suit to avenge his fallen fossil friend, and treats us meaner than I imagined. With some smart swaps, I attempt to lower its attack as much as possible, primarily Charm with Love Disc and Baby Doll Eyes with Lanoon, finally opting into switching into Ledian for a Reflect. Sadly, at -4 attack and through the Reflect, Tyrant ends up taking out my Ladybug, netting the first death of the run. Yikes. Lanoon is faster, and thanks to the previous attacks and how much we've whittled down Tyrant, it's enough to get us the second badge. Team Flare blocks our path a bit in the next route. I also get an Eevee on the way to Geosenge Town, which is next on our list. A fight I completely forgot about ambushes me, as it is against Karina, the fighting type gym leader. This is not an official gym match, but it is still a very difficult one as she has 2 Lucarios, both equipped with Power Up Punch and Sword Stance. In case you forgot, I currently have 3 normal types and a water type with no real offensive presence. Well, here we go. Love Disc leads, and with some Water Pulse and Charms, we are able to get some HP out of the doggo. Loudred ends up sacrificing itself for the greater good and defense drops, and Lanoon is able to take out the first Lucario as it wants to use Metal Sound instead of taking me out. Anyway, 1 down, 1 to go. There's no one who can take 2 power-up punches to the face, so Lanoon goes for another Rock Smash before falling to the second Lucario. Litleo does not stand a chance and is outsped by Lucario, also fainting to a power-up punch. Loftus now has the wiggle room to KO the last doggo. Wow, I really didn't think I was supposed to survive, but here we are. I show off my great ability to avoid trainers, and the first Battle Girl throw makes sashimi out of my fish, ending the run. I did not expect this to happen, to be frankly honest. I mapped out the encounters that I wanted to use and where I would get them at, but this seems a little bit harder than I originally assumed. The Gen 6 games, specifically X and Y, are revered as easier than other Pokemon titles, but it all comes to show that it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, because poor planning leads to poor execution. Alright, from the top, we catch Zigzagoon for later, and this time our only other eligible encounter this early in the game is Riolu. Since it evolves off of happiness, I'm running around grants us access to the same Pokemon that put the nail in the coffin for so many of my old friends. Ironic, isn't it? Sadly, this means that we cannot use Litleo for the duration of the run, as this is the only place it appears in the wild, and since we have an encounter on Route 22, we can't get another. First gym is a breeze, of course, and we only have Quick Attack as an attacking move, but it's more than enough for both Pokemon. We get our Bug, the TM for Return, as well as Power Up Punch, all in the span of about 10 minutes. This is what I like to call not poor planning. Return is boosted to its max power since we ran forever with Lucario, and having Power Up Punch to further boost its strength makes much of the early game a cakewalk. We get the Pokeflute, beat up Snorlax, get Whismur, go on Rhydon, go through Glittering Cave, fish for Love Disc, evolve everyone one more time, and now it's time to battle Grant. One Power Up Punch is enough to take out Amora, and no need for the risk of paralysis either. Tyrant takes one punch, but then on a heal turn, it faints after a second Power Up Punch. We pick up Eevee, go to fight Karina, who's a lot easier thanks to our Lucario, 1, existing, and 2, being a couple of levels higher than hers. We outspeed, and 2 Power Up Punches take out her first Lucario. Since our attack stat is now doubled, 1 more Power Up Punch seals the deal. After avoiding the Battle Girl and Glistening Cave, we make it to Shalor City for the first time. We first go to the Tower of Mastery to compete for which one of us little adventurers will obtain access to Mega Evolution. Serena and I are picked as the best and settle things with a fight. Lucario starts off against her Meowstic, and thanks to our Lucario's ability being steadfast, we get a speed boost after being flinched. After some returns and a Power-Up Punch, the cat faints. Braixen is next, but we have Bone Rush, taking it out in 2 hits. Absol's easy work for Lucario thanks to the type advantage and just overall move pool hindrance. Proving our worth, lets Karina go back to her gym for the official match for the 3rd gym badge. Her Mienfoo loves to go for Fake Out, which activates our Steadfast ability once again, boosting our speed. I go for Power Up Punch and take a Power Up Punch. Of course, that lands a crit. It's unfortunate, but what can you do? At +2, I go for Return on the bird Hawlucha, getting it deep into the red. Hawlucha rears up a flying press and miss! 95% accuracy, thank you. Karina heals, leaving an open shot to get a 3rd Power-Up Punch and Return combo since I outspeed. And with one last return on her Machoke, we end the gym fight, getting our 3rd badge. It can be degrading to have to do the same thing multiple times, but going through with fresh eyes have helped tremendously. We have a few errands to run before the 4th gym, first of which being the fight versus a Mega Evolution successor. You guessed it, Karina. This is also a good time to note that I will not be using Mega Evolution outside of this fight, and even though we are gifted a Lucario, it will not see the light of day or be used in this run. That would break Dupe's claws, and since there is only a handful of fights in which Mega Evolution is used, I find it fair to not do so. Serena gives us the HM for Surf as we need it to traverse to the next gym, and we conveniently receive a free Lapras right in the next route. A very welcomed encounter. For our other encounter in this split, we get ourselves a good rod and head over to Azure Bay. Once there, we fish for the angler Pokemon Chinchou. I can't use it until he evolves, but my last run in Alpha Sapphire really grew my appreciation for this Pokemon. I'm sure Leonard will make it far this time as well, as he was brought to the Elite Four previously. Serena meets us in front of Coumarine City Gym for another fight. With some participation from Lapras, the fight is nearly identical to the previous, clean and quick. This gym has one of the most fun mazes, and I do enjoy swinging around from time to time, but now it is our battle against Ramos. He starts with Jump Bluff, and I answer with Lapras. Jump Bluff outspeeds and uses Grass Dot, and thanks to a crit I am hit to just about a quarter. Lapras answers with an Ice Beam to eliminate the fluff. Ledian comes in next as it completely walls off the following Weepinbell, even taking it out in one hit of Acrobatics. Gogota's next, and the only attacking move that it has to do significant enough damage to my Ledian is Takedown. Though, Ledian lives on moderate HP from 1, and since we are much faster, victory is ours in roughly 5 turns. Fifth gym split is not too bad to us either, as Team Flare's taken over the power plant and is the sole reason for Lumio City's power outage, so the 11-year-old has to come to the rescue. We fight too many grunts, liberating the workers, and finally getting power back to the city. It all really makes me think about what was happening outside of the city during the events of Legend CAs. There's no alluding to Pokemon existing, or the Kalos region for that matter existing at all outside of Lumios. All in 5 years' time too. Gosh, this makes my head hurt. Like and subscribe so I can get some Tylenol. Clement racks our brain even more with his gym puzzle that involves looking at silhouettes of Pokemon and guessing their species. Fun stuff. Let's see if the Battle of Gangsim is just as fun. I forgot to mention Lantern's importance, as my fish has the ability Volt Absorb. With this ability, it is immune to any electric type attack and turns those moves into HP for itself. This is the much more preferred ability over Illuminate, and I will abuse this ability since my life kinda depends on it. Emolga is first for Clement, but since we are immune to Volt Switch, I take some Aerial Aces and am able to take it out with a pair of Surfs. Heliolisk does have Grass Knot and base 109 special attack, a little outside of my preference, so I have the idea to use Ledian to eat some Grass Knot PP, and by switching back into Lantern, as it is immune to electric type moves and would be baited into using Thunderbolt, I could use up all of his Thunderbolt PP. This strategy does not work, however, as Heliolisk wants to go for quick attacks instead of using Grass Knot, putting a damp in my plan and just making Ledian take hits for no gain. I end up switching to Lucario instead of Ledian, which takes that quick attack and goes for a nasty power-up punch. Of course, Heliolisk has free range to go for a Thunderbolt, and paralysis is inflicted on my doggo too. Unbelievable, and I was very much dead to crit there. I use Lantern to eat the next Thunderbolt. Lanoon is able to take up the following quick attack, as he still wants to go for a quick attack, and since we outspeed, a return is enough to stop the Lizard. Magneton is last, but it only has Mirror Shot, Full Switch, and Electric Terrain, all of which my Lantern can wall out, getting me the 5th badge. After our victory against Clement, it's time for another battle with Serena. I lead with Ledian, who is able to get a crit and Omni Boost on the same turn with Silverwind. Whoa! Beating Meowstic brings in Delphox, and Lantern is able to beat the starter. Lucario comes in last and does its usual Lucario thing, and in the next city is the home of the Fairy-type gym. Lucario leads into Mawile, who sadly does not have a lot for man's best friend. Valerie's Mawile takes a total of 4 power-up punches to the dome, and with my attack at an effective 3 times multiplier, a return for Mr. Mime and a return for Sylveon grants me the Fairy Badge. The group wants to visit the Pokeball factory, but Team Flare has other plans. We dart those plans pretty quickly and finally open ourselves up to some new encounters. We get a Lightbard on Route 15, a Pokemon who I never played with before, Litwick in the Lost Hotel, who helped tremendously inside the Ultra Moon L-Lock, and Lombre, who was my starter inside the Alpha Sapphire L-Lock. It's great to see so many new and old faces. Team Flare's also bullying an Abominable Snow in Frost Cavern, so we beat them up again, and upon reaching Anastar City, we have to battle Serena, with 4 Pokemon this time. Our cat is better than hers, as Liepard diffs the Meowstic. Next comes in Delphox, who Lapras handles pretty easily. Jolteon is the new addition to being walled completely by my Lantern. And Lucario does Lucario things to the Absol. Now it is time for the Psychic-type gym. Olympia starts with Sigilyph, who is faked out by our Liepard, taunted before being able to set up a Reflect, and knocked out by a Night Slash. Slowking follows up, who is destined to put our Pokemon to sleep, and by taking advantage of the turns that it does end up attacking us, we're able to knock out the Slowking with a combination of both Liepard and Lantern. Last is your Meowstic, and Liepard really walls anything it can do. The only attacking move that has any effect on our Dark-type cat is the resisted Shadow Ball. After making Olympia exhaust her healing items, Liepard takes out the cat, netting us the 7th badge. Like most Pokemon games, the 7th gym badge means that it's time to fight the crime syndicate that has plagued the region, and Lysander makes the announcement to literally everyone in Kalos that he's going to use the ultimate weapon, and that everyone except Team Flare will die. This guy is, well, horrible, to say the least. After sniffing around Lysander's cafe, we're figuring out that the secret location for one of their hidden bases is behind a wall. Open sesame, I guess. Time for a boss showdown. Lysander leads Mienfoo, who really likes to go for high jump kick whenever possible. So we bait the use by having Lapras lead and Lampet taking the hit. Since fighting does not affect ghost types, Mienfoo misses, hurting itself for crazy recoil, and Lampet takes out the Mongoose on the next turn. Gyarados has Outrage, and that's the best move it can use against our Lapras, so after making the bait, we switch into Lucario, who resists the Dragon-type move. A pair of returns ends the fish. Next is Pyroar, and Lapras is still pretty comfy fit, as I don't have Lantern on my team at the moment, and Lucario cleans up against the Murkrow with a pair of returns. Beating up the scientists we saw along our journey allows us free access to the rest of the lab, where we are peer pressured to press the big red button and activate the ultimate weapon. Since it's in Geosenge Town, it's time to move out. Upon entering Team Flare's secret headquarters, it is time for another fight against Lysander. Similar to last time is now Mienshao wants a high jump kick. It outspeeds Lampet, but we're still able to take it out next turn thanks to the recoil from high jump kick with a Shadow Ball. Gyarados is next, and since I'm a little bit more equipped, Lantern fires off a great Thunderbolt to knock it out, as well as the subsequent Pyroar with a Surf. Finally getting low, Lapras defeats the now Honchkrow with a single Ice Beam. Another Team Flare Gauntlet with double battle support later, and approaching the weird egg awakens the Pokemon Yveltal. After using a Master Ball and forcing it into the box, Lysander puts on his weird VR headset for one more fight. Give it up, old man, I'm better than you! Insert high jump kick bait to knock out here. Pyroar actually lives the Surf from Lantern and does huge hyper voice damage, leaving him deep in the red. Lantern takes out the cat next turn, and this time Honchkrow comes in third. I go for a Thunderbolt into the bird. And it lives on one. No, not my buddy! I should have been more careful after seeing Pyroar live a hit, as Lantern is a very useful Pokemon defensively and in some cases offensively. Lapras is strong enough, of course, to put the bird down. Gyarados comes in last, and this is the second of 3 fights in the main story in which a trainer actually uses Mega Evolution. Since Lapras is out, it goes for Outrage, and on its first turn, I use the sneakiest move to exist, Perish Song. It forces the Pokemon on field to faint in 3 turns if they stay, so of course the easy thing to do is to switch out, right? Well, Gyarados is last, it can't switch out, leaving it using 2 more turns of Outrage before getting confused. Since Lucario is in, I expect an Earthquake to come my way, so I switch out to Ledian, all for the Mega Evolved Fish to smack itself in confusion, ending the fight and ending Lysander's passion for being a nuisance. He does still fire off the ultimate weapon though, thus cursing himself with eternal life. Like most Pokemon games, the 8th gym leader is so disconnected and not included in the story at all outside of their role as a gym leader. We still have some work to do to get there, including evolving our Ludicolo, skipping out on Larvitar as I made the executive decision to skip the encounter, beating the professor up, and the 3 other rivals that we have strung alongside this entire run. Their teams aren't too bad, but I wish they distributed more battles against Shauna, Tierno, and Trevor, opposed to the handfuls that we've had with Serena. Felt like she was trying to fight after every gym. It's a little much, don't you think? We also get access to the Moss Rock, but at this point of the game I am so comfortable with my team that I completely forget that Eevee is sitting in my box. Poor thing. After getting Wolfric from the forest, it is time to battle. Lucario starts, 2 power-up punches for Abomasnow, 1 for Cryogonal, and a close combat for Avalugg in the back. Well, a relevant person, a relevant team, very relevant gym badge, and now it is time for Victory Road and the Pokemon League. We walk for a little, and the last encounter of the game is Lickitung, who we name Lunch. Speak of the devil and they will appear. Serena challenges us to another battle near the end of Victory Road. We do a cat diff with Fake Out and a Sucker Punch. Lapras OHKOs her newfound Altaria with a super effective Ice Beam. Jolteon is third, who we use Lucario on, getting a nice 4-hit Bone Rush. Being low, we bait the Delphox, and Lapras gets so low that it's not really enough for me to feel comfortable, so I switch into Looter as sacrifice so that Liepard can get a Fake Out on the Fox and take it out. Lucario's too weak for Absol, so with some good teamwork between Ludicolo and Liepard, we're able to find an alternative way to beat the Absol. Nice. Closer than I like, but nice. I evolved Lickitung to Licky Licky, and now with my finalized team, it is time for just 5 more battles to prove that I'm the best in the Kalos region. I start the league at the same level of the Elite 4 Aces. Even though Diantha has a level 68, I think it would be too much if I were to match that level. Lapras takes out Pyroar, Torkoal, and Talonflame with 1 Hydro Pump apiece. Chandelure is a little bulkier on the special side than her friends, and with Perish Song and Sol with Licky Licky, I'm able to beat the first of 4. Wickstrom uses Steel types, and of course that means it's Lucario time. His lead Klepke wants to set up layers of spikes, so I take advantage of the Prankster setup abuser. 3 layers of spikes are met with 3 power-up punches, taking out the key set. Probopass is next, and I use Bone Rush since it is specifically a multi-hitting move for the Pokemon with Sturdy. Aegislash comes in, and I really wanted to keep my stacks since I am now at +3 attack without getting obliterated by the Sword Pokemon. So I used Protect a couple of times, and I ended up just getting bored and switching into Ledian on a Protect turn, setting up Reflect. Thanks to this, I'm also able to switch into Liepard, who can live in Iron Head and take out the sword with a single Sucker Punch. Last is Scizor, and since I don't have a Fire type, I can just use Lucario. I use Power Up Punch, and a close combat afterwards is enough to finish the fight. Drasnun or Dragons do try, I swear. Lapras takes out Dragalge with 2 hits of Ice Beam, and by being scared of Druddigon in its revenge move, I switch into Ledian for more Reflect. I get an okay Bug Buzz off before I am Dragon-tailed away. Sadly, Druddigon brought back my Lapras. 1 Ice Beam there, 1 for Altaria, and 1 for Noivern, ending the fight. Cybold is the last Elite Four member we have to face. Ludicolo makes its first appearance, though I would have really rather have had Lantern here. 2 Grass Knots are enough to finish the first Clawitzer, who hits Ludi with a decent Dark Pulse. Barbaracle comes in next for some reason and is OHKO'd by a subsequent Grass Knot. Third is Starmie, and thanks to a Light Screen I can't kill with my first Grass Knot, and I take a Light Psychic before taking out the Starfish with another Grass Knot. Gyarados is last, and this one likes to set up Dragon Dances, but that's okay, because we have Perish Song. You know, if I had a nickel for every time a Gyarados fancied a Perish Song in this run, I would have 2 nickels. Of course, 2 nickels is not a lot of money, but it is weird that it happened twice. This brings us to the last battle. The first trainer to have 6 Pokemon on our team in this whole run is the last one we need to beat. Here we go. Ledian is my best lead until a Hawlucha. It sets up a Sword Stance as I use Reflect. Back to square one. Since we're on equal footing, Hawlucha goes for a Poison Jab, and luckily lands a Poison on me, as Ledian hits for a very strong Acrobatics. After surviving the next Poison Jab deep in the red, Ledian takes a knockout, even living on 3 HP after poison damage. Tyranium is next, and since my Lucky Bug outspeeds, I'm able to get half the Bug Buzz before getting decimated by a Head Smash. It is unfortunate that my second Pokemon dies here, but Ledian was pivotal in many fights along the way. I do not have any regrets. Lucario comes in to avenge his fallen friend. Power Up Punch gets Tyranium low, and thanks to a Reflect still lingering, I'm able to eat a Earthquake up. Diantha heals, giving me another free Power Up Punch, and since I outspeed, I use a third Power Up Punch, connecting and taking out the dragon. Goodra is next, and at +3, I have full confidence that Lucario could take out the big slug with a close combat, which it does. Aurorus follows up, and a Power Up Punch is more than enough to knock it out. Gourgeist is next, and I don't really have anything for it, but I luckily hit a 5-hit Bone Rush, and then take damage from a Phantom Force. I totally forgot Phantom Force goes through Protect, but I outsped anyway, so I was going to take the damage. 2 more Bone Rush hits are more than enough. Gardevoir is her last Pokemon, and opens up by Mega Evolving. I don't want to switch anything into this, and at +4 all I can do is hope that I am faster than her. And Lucario outspeeds the Gardevoir. Bone Rush connects. The first crits and the second is more than sufficient to end the fight. It is all over, and with that, we have finished the run. If you made it this far into the video, I just really want to take a second to say I really appreciate it. All the support that you've given me. I'm currently working full-time on top of trying to create content, and yeah, no, it makes my time frames very inconsistent sometimes with videos and uploads. So with your support, liking, subscribing, lets me know that, hey, maybe I should prioritize my time a little bit differently. So anything that you do goes a really long way. And yeah, I hope to make a lot more videos like this in the future. Still got some more Pokemon games to go through with Nuzlocke of L species Pokemon. Might want to do a ROM hack next time. I don't know, but let me know your thoughts of how the run went and any kind of comments and critiques you like in the comments. And thank you again. Bye now.